Great. Okay, hi, I'm Russ Reed again. Nice to see you all, and I want to thank the organizers, in particular Elaine and Sonia and Jennifer for putting this together. It's been great. We have the largest panel today. We're not boasting about that, it's just the way it should be. But anyways, we, as you may know or have heard, we're all sort of independent here through TAC Grant. When we put this together a few years ago, I guess it's going on 4 now, we really wanted to make sure that we could present something to the DOL that they would find very compelling and that they would want to make sure that they funded. And so it was really important that we got together with Sonia and Elaine and all the leaders in the community college system to come together with one proposal. So what you have on your desk, or should have, is our second year of the grant. So the grant goes from September to the end of September of the year, and then what we do is we produce an annual report. We take something that the U.S. Department of Labor makes us do, which is very intricate, very detailed, and we try to make it into milestones and pictures. So this one is actually called Milestones. And you can actually get a hold of these impacts electronically. They're much nicer because they're hot linked on biotechworkforce.org. The second piece of information you should have is a product of the grant, which we're very proud of, that's evolving. This isn't the final product. This is just a summary of it, which Linda Rafus will talk to you more, called Core Bioscience Skills Standards. So the way the panel shakes out today is, I'll just give you a very brief overview of the grant and how we got there and where we are. And then I'll turn it over to Se-Young Lee. He in turn will turn it over to Steve Solomon, who's our employer, who's been with us from the very beginning on the medical device skill standards. Then I'll turn it back over to Linda. She'll do a little overview of how they've developed the bioscience core skill standards. And then there's one particular program that is a bridge to biomanufacturing that Lenny Sufo is using out in Los Angeles that's really got employers' heads spinning positively because of the success rate of the program. So we want you to take a look at that. And then at the very beginning of this grant, when we put it together, the National Center for Biotechnology Workforce had a very good relationship with the Manufacturing Institute. And for those of you who don't know the Manufacturing Institute, it is a connected organization to the National Association of Manufacturers. And we really wanted to make sure that we could leverage this relationship, and we have, and Gardner will sort of sum it up and tell you how we're going forward with the Manufacturing Institute, a key partner in terms of the larger employer base. And then we'll end it with Steve Doms, who's, I think everybody, a lot of people here know Steve from his associations and especially his work in higher ed and so forth. But Steve has been instrumental in leading our National Advisory Council, which is a requirement and something that we were mandated to do for the grant. So that's kind of the way it's going to shake out. Everybody's sitting there, they look crowded. Sitting on staff, he's only got 6 slides, so he's going to sort of pass out after dinner. So here we go, let's take a roll. So Maria Farr showed you this slide earlier. It's important that I just kind of tell you what this slide is. We have a tremendous program at North Carolina State. We have something called the BTEC, and within the BTEC we have something called, oops, it's time, just go back there a little bit. Within the BTEC we have something called our BioNetwork Capstone site. And actually what we've done in the C3 Visas grant is taken students from all the 12 colleges and taken them to the Capstone Center for a week of training. And there you can see that's a happy group, that's last year's group. We just had a group just finished as well. So what this grant was to do, it was a series of TAC grants, Trade Adjustment System grants. Ours is around 2. It actually sunsets at the end of October of next year. So it was us and 11 other partners. So just go back there for a second. So, you know, with BioLink and with NUC2, we reached to over 120 colleges. For those of you who don't know these grants really well, they basically are very, very similar, regardless of the fact that they might be in biosciences. But this is what our grant was trying to do, to make sure that we were increasing the amount of capacity in biosciences. But importantly, what we were looking at is industry recognized programs. And for that, we needed to actually look at a core set of bioscience skills. So you've seen these, this is nothing new, but this is essentially what we're doing in our grant. Some very interesting work being done on removing barriers by all the colleges, flexible labs, gaming, and so forth. Well, we won't talk about that today, that's for another day. But at the end of the day, working with employers and working really closely with them, we were able to understand their needs. We've heard so much of that this morning. Community colleges are great for working with their employers and showing, being able to get the skills that they should have. So, you know, if I really had to boil this down to the essence of what we're trying to do, it's to give the employers the people they need. This is how the grant is laid out. Sonia is the head of the biomanufacturing. Senyon Lee from Tech is the head of medical devices. Elaine Johnson is the head of the Lab Skills Hub, and Learning Technologies is run by Michael Harris from Foresight Tech. So there are 3 colleges within each of these hubs, and the center is really what we're doing from a national perspective. So where are we? You know, so far we've had over 2,300 participants go through the programs. These are just some of the industry partners. I won't get too much detail in there, but it's important for you to know that we're working with your partners, and at the same time we're working with some of the big groups like the MDMA and AVAMED and Pharma and also Bio. We went to see them before we started this grant, sat down with them and asked them, you know, how could we go forward? And then at the state level, you heard Lori, so we're working very closely with CSBI and the other association called CSBA and so forth. So one of the key components here that you heard this morning, you heard a little on, is the workforce agencies and the RIBs. And part of all these TAC grants is really to reinforce their voice, to get with them and to work with them. And there's been some fabulous work done from some of our colleges, in particular PA and in California. And probably others. I don't want to mention anybody without exclusion of anybody. This is the schema for the grant. After lunch, seeing this, you're going, oh my God, what is this? But anyways, this is basically the logic diagram for the grant, which basically says there's a few buckets there. It's on-ramping and off-ramping. But at the end of the day, let's go back on that. At the end of the day, it's looking at those skill sets, looking at ways and means of shortening programs for people to get trained quicker, and at the same time being able to add on credentials, whether they be stackable or lattice, and just making sure that good articulation programs are in place. The green arrow is exactly where we are at this particular point in time, heading for the home stretch. I sort of gave you an update, but we're asked to track 9 variables, and the one that I haven't mentioned is the credit hours completed. So, you know, kudos to our group. We've really piled on a lot of credit hours completed. The lab expansion has happened. There's no more equipment being purchased. It's all being done. It's all implemented. And at the same time, you'll hear more about the Bridge to Work program. And I think we've got the creation of medical device standards where they never existed before, so we're very proud of that, and we'll hear more on that in a second. So, I've already mentioned this. There's a sunset period of the grant. People ask, well, what happens to C3BC after 2016? And there are people in this room that are actually employed by the grant, and they're wondering what's going to happen to them after March 31st, 2016. And, you know, we're working hard diligently to try to figure out ways and means of trying to carry forward this good work. So that's why we want your attention this afternoon. We want you to be to start putting your heads together and thinking, okay, what happens next? This happens to be at Montgomery Community College. This is Maggie's class, and looks like a pretty happy group right now. So here we go. Sponsored products are what we consider to be courses, curriculum, visuals. Everything that we make in this grant has to become public property. So it's done with certain criteria so that it's open source, and at the same time we have to be able to put this up on a national training website. So we've chosen Enter. Enter is the place where we'll put the programs that we have, but at the same time the DOL changed the criteria through the grants, the successive grants, and opened up something called skillscommons.org. That's where our products will be as well. Just from a local perspective for us, we're in Forsyth County in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. In actual fact, we have a program ongoing now using the skill standards with 2 manufacturers. One is Herbalife and the other is Wake Forest Institute for Regenerative Medicine. And it's been amazing the reaction of the employers to the core skill standards. They really, really like them. So hats off to the group that put those together. So my last slide, we're just continuing to do the training. We're building up capacity. It's pretty much done, just finishing off courses and so forth. And we're really focused, and that's why today we wanted to bring to you this whole idea about the core bioscience skill standards. We're placing people into jobs. That's one criteria right now where, when we look at our quarterly reports, and by the way, they're for anybody who's got a TAC grant, my sympathies go to you. These quarterly reports are like filling out 100 college applications at the same time. And we're not showing the numbers on people getting into jobs, but I think it's a delay in just getting people through the programs, because every time we hear of somebody who finishes with some graduates, we hear of some really great people getting jobs. And so I think that's where we are. So that's me. And now I'll turn it over to Dr.